Good evening,
Good evening.
St. Vincent's family. And just a reminder that we are recording. Welcome, everybody, again, as we continue our discussion on how best to encourage people to get out and vote in the November elections, as we certainly heard so clearly from the Obamas last night. We mentioned again the low turnout for the primaries, especially in Baltimore City, where we have the highest Black population in our state. So let's begin all of that important discussion first with a prayer. Jody?
Dear God, as we gather tonight,
No. Let me see if I can find.
as we gather tonight to focus on building a more equitable future for all, we need your help. We need your wisdom and guidance. We need your humility. You came down to live among us, saw our brokenness, and loved us anyway. Our nation and our world are still very broken, despite the immense love you have poured on us. We see others' brokenness, but often don't see our own. This is magnified in these contentious times. We believe in our own rightness. We believe that we work for the good of all. Give us humility and open our ears to learn what we need to hear, even when we want to cry out against it. Help us recognize how the gospel compels us to respond to others so that your voice is heard. Guide our actions and show us the way to support leaders who will bring us closer to your kingdom. God, you are at work in each of us. Help us believe that our brokenness can be healed. Help us to work to create the world that Dr. Martin Luther King envisioned. May we be still for a moment and let your grace enter in. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Jody. I'd like to start off by recognizing that we did get into politics pretty deeply at our last meeting because of the strength of our passions. And I know I certainly felt purged at the end. However, overall, we need to ensure that regardless of each person's political party, we're working for the good of the whole community. As a St. Vincent's family, of which we're a small part, we are all one bread, one body. And so we've got to move that way, inclusive of our individual feelings. We know that we all want the best for this country. And because of our We Have a Dream mission statement, advocate for legislation that promotes equity, we may ask people to consider that when looking at the candidates of their choice. Peggy?
Thanks, Skip. Last meeting, we agreed to encourage people to vote using a racial and socioeconomic lens. Then we discussed some ways to do that. And we decided that we needed a subcommittee to work the issue, and Jerry Filkowski volunteered to lead the effort. And quickly, Jack and Liz and Dennis Moore and Ann Whitlock and Tom Filkowski volunteered to help. And they have done fantastic work researching candidates and platforms, and we are truly grateful to all of them. Skip, Jody, and I joined them after we returned, and they had already decided who was researching whom, so it was great. And this evening, we would like Jerry and Jack and any members of the team to share their progression, just so you'll know what you are distributing or to answer questions, and we'll show you what was developed. And we want voters to support candidates who will promote our gospel based on Christian values on the multiple issues involved in this election. But again, we don't want to discuss candidates and who you want to vote for or telling people who to vote for. So Jerry, we again thank you and your excellent team, and the Zoom is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Well, before I get into that meat, there were a couple points I talked to Peggy about today that I wanted to bring to your attention. So we have worked very hard to find resources that were basically nonpartisan. And so we found like one of the best things to do was, of course, to go to the resource of the candidate himself or herself and report to you what their platforms say and what their websites say. And we did find some nonpartisan resources, which you can continue to pursue and find more information about candidates yourself. And we're going to provide that information. We're going to provide the links to nonpartisan sources, not CNN, not MSNBC, not Fox News, not the New York Times and not the Washington Post, but absolutely as nonpartisan as we can kind of find. And so there were a couple things that I wanted you to be aware of, because we have a big senatorial election approaching us in the state of Maryland. We want to find out all we can about our candidates. For any of you that are interested, there's a meet and greet for Angela also Brooks that's going to happen Saturday from 10 to 11:30. Now, it says where the meet and greet is a private address, which makes me think that if you're interested, what you have to do, I can't do that right now because and debilitated for a little while. So I can't go to that. I would like to go to that, but it's at Baltimore County sponsoring with so I just can forward you that address if you email me later, so that it came from our delegate to Annapolis, Delegate Guyton, and that was sent out. And secondly, note is I have a connection for NOPE for NOPE, and they're going to do canvassing. And this is to get out the vote, canvassing to get out the people, just to get them to vote in Harrisburg and in York. And they'll help you know how to go door to door and encourage people to vote if you can go to York or Harrisburg. And they will help you know how to write letters or make phone calls. And so I also have a link for that. These just came through today, so this is why I didn't get them out to you. And they're going to do the canvassing on the 21st and the 31st. The 21st in York, which is not very far from, I mean, it's like 20 minutes for me almost, and in Harrisburg. And the next point was, so there was the Nonpartisan Project took a poll of young voters, and the latest poll shows that the 40% of young voters, their number one priority is climate change. And the number two priority is the issue of abortion. And so what we need to do, I think, is concentrate to the best way that we can is getting out young people to vote. Just encourage anybody young in your family that isn't a voting age to vote. You don't tell them who to vote for, or unless they ask you. And the same thing in our parish. And look around and in your families and in your neighborhoods, and just encourage the young people to vote. And because of the work of this committee, we have a handout information on how to vote and where to vote. And so, how to register, where to vote, how you can find a polling place near you, how you can do mail-in ballots. So we think we kind of covered that. And so we have this kind of neutral information on that. And what the committee did from the beginning was decide that there were specific issues that would be highlighted, and what we would report on was how each of the candidates stood on those particular issues. So actually what we did was we picked
You want me to share the screen now?
Yeah.
And share one of them?
Yeah, and then I can let Jack jump in. But for instance, we picked the issue of guns and weapons, immigration, the economy, the environment, health, education, because both of the candidates had information on that, and we went right to their websites. And so that we were very careful to report to you what they said. And then for Governor Hogan, we had an advantage of going to his record in the State House, so that we were also able, therefore, then to tell you what he might have vetoed, or what he might have supported in terms of the issues that we're relating from Angela and that we're relating from him. Jack, did you have anything? Did you want to jump in here on anything? Can y'all hear me?
Hear
I
you.
was muted.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jack. Okay, Jack. Good.
No, Jerry, go ahead. You're doing very well. We went to their website and downloaded their information and put them all together into those 6 topics that Jerry just mentioned. Their websites are different, but I just want to caution you, Larry Hogan, I'm just making you aware of the fact that Angela Alsobrooks' website is angelaalsobrooks.com. What Larry Hogan did was create a false website called angelaalsobrooks.org, and he listed all of her negatives. So anyone that looked at the wrong thing saw her negatives, even if they decided not to accept them. It was a very nasty thing that Larry Hogan did, but that's just a fact. That's not being, one-sided. It's just a fact.
Jack, did
Um,
that come out in the paper or anything? Like, is that
It-
known?
It did.
Well-
It came
Good.
out. It was taken down, but I mean, I think, Jack, I think it was taken down, was it not?
I haven't checked the last couple of days, but the last time I checked, it was still up.
Oh, okay. Well, then Jack would know that better than I. I mean, Jack is like an amazing wizard. If you need anybody on a committee to do research, you have to pick Jack Schmidt, but don't tell him I told you. He's amazing.
Well, Jack also wrote to the
He did.
paper, and they published
That's
the
right.
letter that he wrote explaining that. So that was fantastic.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Good.
So I
That's
have up Hogan's. If you this is kind of the categories. If you wanted to cover those, I can just scroll through it. Can you read it, or is it too small?
Well,
No,
can you see that? I don't have to read it to you if you can see it, but it just tells you where he stood on guns and where she stands on guns, and basically what he did as governor in Maryland and what she has done as the of Prince George's County, as what do you call it? Prince George, can't think of the word right now.
I can't either.
County executive,
On the
Executive, yeah.
county executive, yeah.
We got so punchy. I mean, we were trying to be so careful to be neutral and
Yeah.
to use the right words and stuff. So I think my tongue gets all twisted up around all this. But so, for instance, if we look, let's just compare. So if we look at Hogan on guns, you can see that in terms of guns in Maryland, he vetoed the House and Senate approved bill. Okay, Peggy,
I'm trying to get them both up at the same time. Hold on a second.
okay.
You can kind of just see part of the thing.
Okay, he vetoed the House and Senate approved bill to strengthen background checks for sale of shotguns and rifles. And what she proposes to do, because she's not governor, but as running for Senate, she proposes to implement universal background checks, close gun show loopholes, and ban military weapons and prohibit bump stocks. And so he also signed red flag laws, Hogan, that would allow family members and law enforcement. You have to move it over a bit, Peggy. Unless I can open
Make it smaller if you want.
it on my phone also. I'll open Hogan on my phone. And
Okay.
And meanwhile, Peggy's going to send these documents to everybody.
this is what we were saying. So that would allow family members or significant others to petition a judge to order confiscation from individuals that they thought might be like harmful. And he's going to continue to support criminal penalties for violent offenders and focus on increasing funding for federal prosecutors to break up carjacking gangs and other organized crime. So so we had a little more succinct information on what Angela's proposing, running as senator for guns. And then we had some concrete because of what Hogan may have either vetoed or not. So if you want to pick something like do you want to look, what do you want to look at next? Do you want to look at immigration or do you
Yeah,
want
Jerry, I think if you really pointed out in those 5 key areas, especially in some, as one candidate, because of their position, was able to do more than another. But in
Right.
another area, it equals out. So I think if we did go down a little bit, it would help.
Okay, I just didn't want to.
Yeah, I understand.
So let's go look at the governor first. So what he did in the General Assembly was he Peggy's movement, like he vetoed House and Senate, or he vetoed the House and Senate approved bill. So the House and the Senate, Peggy, you went up too high.
She's reading the
Oh,
guns
you're on the
still.
first one. I thought you were finished guns, sorry.
And I'm not on guns. I'm on
We're on
immigration.
Immigration.
Okay, so he vetoed in the General Assembly a bill to essentially make Maryland a sanctuary state. And so that came to the General Assembly. We wanted a sanctuary state. He vetoed. He vetoed legislation that prohibited jails from both detaining people on immigration matters and limiting the collaboration between the local and the federal immigration authorities. He vetoed legislation that protected information of undocumented drivers from being reported to ICE. Now,
Yes.
and so now, well, I guess we'll finish him and then we'll go to Angela.
Yes.
And then you can see. So he advanced solutions to secure the border and pass meaningful immigration reform. He fixed the asylum process. He sent
This
more.
is what he wants to do.
He wants to do.
His
Wants
website
to
says
do,
he
yes.
wants to do this. He
Yes.
hasn't
He
done
didn't
these.
do it.
Sure, these are his wants, and we'll see her wants as well.
Yeah.
And to send more resources to border law enforcement, increase custom and border protection agents, increase the number of immigration judges, and dismantle criminal and cartel networks. In terms of immigration, Angela, you want to go over there, Peggy?
Move over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as state's attorney for Prince George's County and county executive, this is what she did. She fought for fair treatment of immigrants irrespective of their legal status. In 2013, she pushed to pass legislation to allow undocumented immigrants to get driver's licenses. She instructed the Department of Corrections to notify the ICE only in cases of gang-related or violent criminal offenses perpetrated by undocumented immigrants.
Mhm.
She declined to enter a 287 agreement with ICE, and that would involve the local law enforcement in determining the person's immigration status. And she
What
created
is the 287G? I'm sorry. What is
It's
the
an-
287G?
it was an
It's-
agreement with ICE that
Yes.
was,
Is it, I mean, is it a federal statute or a state statute?
oh
I
gosh,
think it's federal.
I think,
I think it was federal. The 287, yeah.
But was
Agreement.
was
No, I
it
think it-
required, or are we saying she refused to follow a federal law? I don't think so.
No.
No, this
So
is
I'm
state.
asking what
state.
287G is because,
yeah, it's,
when
I'm not,
things are thrown out like that, I have to know what they are.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
we'll do that. Hopefully you will do that. That's what we're encouraging, people that you look this up yourself. We had a lot more material than that, but you can see to give out we feel like at St. Vincent's, we're dealing with an intelligent populace. So they'll look up things that they don't get. We explained as many things as we could, but we tried to keep this in a sheet and workable in a sheet and a half on each candidate. And we only took this from their website. So you can go to their website and their record as county executive and their record as governor. So anyway, we know that this had to do
Mary,
basic.
could I interject something here just for a moment? lest you think it's being biased with the vetoes, Jack pointed out a very good thing. Some people might think that the veto was a positive thing to do, and
Yes,
some
yes,
people might think it was a negative thing to do based on your political party.
exactly, exactly.
These are just
Yeah.
facts that happen.
Right,
I'm not sure we need to go through all these since everybody will get these.
Yeah.
All
I-
feel the need to do that.
Yeah, I would suggest that you read them and you put them side by side.
Mhm.
And you can we tried to explain as many things as we could because we looked up everything ourselves, but it got very weighty. So we couldn't elaborate on everything. And and we expect to be giving these out at the back of the church, and we expect to be able to explain things if people have questions, or else we'll tell them where they can go to like find the answers. But there was discrepancies on how the candidates felt like they should work with ICE in terms of immigration. So that was the bottom
right,
line.
right.
So some of you will be more positive about what one candidate feels about what he or she could do with ICE, and more disfavorable about what you think the other candidate could do with ICE. And
One,
what-
Jerry,
page and a half of information about what their hope is to do when he or she is elected to the Senate, and also what they have done in their positions as county executive and as governor. And we had long discussion, maybe an hour, over reporting the vetoes, but the vetoes are what is the work of Governor Hogan. And as already said, some people are going to be happy about what he vetoed.
yes, yes.
People are not. So we're only giving you the facts that from the record at the state.
Right, and if I could mention that,
Please, Liz.
she was saying that an ordinary traffic stop should not be the event that removes someone from the country.
Yes,
And so two of
Right.
the things here, like the third bullet and the fourth bullet are what she supported in
Right.
order to bring that about. But that was her intention, that it has to be much more serious than a traffic violation.
Right.
And so,
The other thing
Can
I
I
wanted
say, can I ask a question? I thought in order to be deported, you had to commit or be convicted of a crime. There's a certain list of crimes that are known as moral turpitude. And I thought that that's what you had to be convicted of in order to be deported, not anything as minor as a traffic stop. I mean, I never even thought that was a consideration.
I don't
Well-
believe that it was that they said that you had to be deported. It was that they would not report them to ICE, and then ICE would make
correct.
determinations.
That was the difference, Jerry, that one candidate would report them to ICE and one candidate would prefer not to do that for a traffic stop.
Are we gonna get these like in an email?
I'm
yes.
going to
Um,
send
yeah,
them
we
out.
can maybe
Yes.
give them out to people, like distribute them to maybe the neighborhood or something, and people,
Right.
okay,
We did
thanks.
want to point out at the top that we have a phrase here. Please note that we did not verify website statements and encourage your critical thinking.
right.
And then at the end, we have some fact check sites that people could use, considering the amount of information about candidates and their platforms, the misinformation and disinformation, very prevalent. And then they can check these. So that's on both of them.
Right. Exactly.
And thank you so much, Jerry, Jack, your whole group that did this.
Those committees were rock stars. I mean,
Yeah.
and we, like Jerry's, pondering over this. I mean, we pondered over every one of these details and trying to figure out what categories to pick. So we picked the top ones that we're getting that the country seems to be most interested in at the time. But it's very difficult. I mean, having done that, we also, for ourselves, did summaries of the Republican platform. And I did a whole synopsis of the 2025 Republican thing. But you don't need that. You need to know, like for us now, what these candidates for our Senate seat have done and what they're saying they will do. And we have to take them at their word from their website and from their record, both in Prince George's County and in Annapolis. And so, and we're hoping that if you don't understand something that you research yourself, which is why we gave you the resources, because we just found it got so cumbersome. We couldn't explain every little thing, but we learned a lot ourselves just in the process.
I saw Sharon had her hand raised first, and then Mary Ann.
If I may ask, Jerry, if you could give some references to where you can look up. I know you decided not to do 2025, but obviously you did you or whomever did research on it. I would appreciate if you'd include that reference so that we can look at it as well. Because I'm going to try to make this non-political. I do not believe that the disavowalment of that program is for real.
No.
I think it's been pushed in the background because it's gained too much notoriety for. But come the day, they'll institute it overnight. The other thing that I wondered, when you were doing Hogan, anywhere did it address the fact that he, for whatever he believes or doesn't believe, will not be able to affect legislation to any significant degree, unless he's going to vote with the Democrats? Did anything address that?
No, it didn't, but we could say the same thing for the other candidate as well. It's going to depend on who's in the House and who's in the Senate. So, I mean, that's a good observation, Sharon, but that's why I guess we were saying we were trying to make this nonpartisan. And because we realize that each of these candidates have his or her hopes and dreams about what they can do and how they can do it. But unqualified, they're members of a party, aren't they? And
Yes.
so that's going to have some influence on what they do. And I think what I did, I'm looking for my paper now, and on the 2025. Ann, is that what you found while I was talking to Sharon and looking in my book? But with the resource for that, if you'll see,
so I just put it up.
Yeah, it's huge, but you can just look at the highlights of it, and in about 2.5 pages, you can get the basic gist of some of the that the document makes.
I appreciate that reference.
We really did have to walk a tightrope on a lot of stuff, Sharon. For instance, we were hoping that people would be aware that Governor Hogan was governor, but the legislature was predominantly Democratic, the Senate and the House. So there are some things, for instance, in education, he vetoed the great boost to education bill, and that was overridden by the General Assembly. So then if you might go to a website or something and see this statement of support for education, but you won't see that maybe that support came because the legislature forced it.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one other document that we worked on, and we had 4 pages of a voting thing. And so we kind of condensed it to 1 page. Let's get out and vote. And it just says, are you registered? And this is something that we can pass out in the neighborhood if we go. And also, in case we need it, on the back is, am I eligible to register to vote? And it has the rules for Maryland here also. So we'll send that out to you all too. Right.
And Ann, I mean, everybody worked on that, but Ann was especially helpful with that piece. And everybody kind of divided up candidates like Liz and Jack and Dennis. So I just feel that I almost wish you could have been in on the conversations, because our brains got a little fried, but we kind of found out more than we needed to know, I think. And so I appreciate your questions, and they validate what we thought, that we're working with very curious, intelligent people. So what they don't know,
Mhm.
they'll look for and discover themselves.
And does anyone else on that committee want to say anything? And Liz, Jack, Dennis, you
Yeah.
guys did such a great job.
You did an unbelievable job.
Well, and
And-
I
and-
would encourage people to continue to follow the
Right.
website that but I'm blocking out the name of it now. The women voters.
League of
League of
Women
League of Women
Voters.
Yeah,
Voters.
League of Women Voters.
That's
Because
in the link.
they will continue to put up things as it gets closer and closer. And they'll have questions and they'll be asking, candidates to reflect on issues. So that's a really good resource.
And that
Right.
link is on all 3 documents.
Yes.
Right. And we found, we found other things, but we tried to keep them under, we're going to give this as a handout. We know that people are not going to read anything lengthy. So we had to consider that we had to keep this like to a page and a half, but on things that we, like both candidates said they would do everything they could to support infrastructure. So for whomever you're leaning forward, so you're going to find that they do come together on some things, they're not so different on some things. And then both of them come together and say they want to honor and serve veterans. But because you're all critical thinkers, you know that they're going to represent a party when they get elected. And
Yes.
it's important that you know their party's platforms, that you know what the Republican Party platform is, and that you know what the Democratic Party platform is. And actually, it kind of shifts a little bit. So you can Google it. You just can Google the Republican Party platform and it'll come up. And you just Google the Democratic Party platform. And then we realized, because that was like a shifting thing, we had to actually go to the candidates herself and look at their website. But as Ann said, that we gave you that list of resources, but like the League of Women Voters has always been a very reliable, neutral, very comprehensive source. So don't forget to check that. And for the candidates.
And Mary Ann has had her hand raised for a while. Mary Ann?
Thank you. This is just quick, and I think when you send out the physical copies, I'll probably get my question answered. But you said that so many young voters are very concerned about reproductive rights, abortion. Was there something under the health category on those 2 comparisons?
Yeah,
That mentions abortion? Okay, I scanned it, and I didn't see it right away. Thank you.
that was the second most important issue for young voters after the environment. And both of the candidates, we put that under health.
Under
in
health,
terms-
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, good question, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, well, I wanted to let you know also, and Jack had volunteered, and we're going to work on an action plan here, what we all want to agree to do, or what individuals want to do. But Jack had said that he would be happy to man a table at the back in the gathering space, so we can determine what dates we want to do that. And also for you to know, as we all know, the environment is very important also for some of these neighborhoods with particularly people of color and the hazardous things there. And the Green Team is having an event on October 13th at church. And we will have a table set up also with this voter information, just in case people, can stop by. And also they're going to mention at church that we're going to have some letter writing right after church. And so if people can give up like 10 minutes just to go in the dining room or wherever we decide to do it, and just sign, do a couple letters and get those. So that'll be part of the mailing to other places to try to get people out to vote. So everything will be about getting out to vote. So that brings us
For a minute though, I just found that material. I had sent the committee, I did a summation of like 20 points on project 2025, But all you have to do, Sharon, is, it's kind of, that's the promoter behind that is the Heritage Foundation. And so you can go to the Heritage Foundation and then ask for Project 2025, but you can even go to Wikipedia. But they're not these great nonpartisan resources, but they're gonna, that's the document you want. That's where you're gonna find it. And that's where I found it. And then I just did 20 points. You know, it's a tome, right? It's like, what is it, 900 pages or something?
Mhm.
So I don't have that much time left in my life to read it, but I went through. So if you want to do that, I mean, it is there.
I would
It's-
rather
We're good.
I will look it up on Heritage. I would like to get a summation. I'm assuming they're gonna, at some point at the beginning of it, they have a summation of the 900 pages, because I agree with you. I really don't have 900 hours to do it. Plus, I don't think I could get through it anyway.
Yeah.
So
No,
I'll look for
certainly
a
not.
summation.
All
Yeah,
right,
Thank you.
Jerry. So, so now we want to talk about, do we want to go door to door to try to get people out to vote? Do we want to see a church? People are registered. Probably a lot of our congregation is already registered. Do you want to check with your neighbors? Do you want to leave information at places on tables? I did this one little thing that we could use, and we can change it however. But so start thinking about what do you think's the most important thing to do, and what do you want to do?
Ray, were you trying to get Peggy's
Yes.
attention?
Yes, I was just wanted to offer something. We know who asked Hogan to run, and behind him, there's a lot of money pushing for Hogan to win. So there's a reason for that, and most likely it's because how he's going to vote. So it'll be interesting to have an idea or get some idea if you can. And I can do that one-on-one. Ben Holland's the other senator, right?
Yes.
So
Yes,
therefore,
ours.
he probably has some idea about some of the things that are in the hopper right now, and would have some idea about the danger of having Hogan there. And he says he's independent. He's going to vote both ways. But a lot of times he's going to vote Republican because that's where the money's coming from, and that's where he was asked to join. So I can call Van Hollen's office and see what their thoughts and their concerns about Hogan winning, and why it's so necessary not to have him because of that vote. And looking into how Hogan's going to vote is very important. And I think if we can get some ideas or from the other senator and their concerns and see if he's putting out anything, I'll do that.
That would be great, Ray. Thank you. And remember, some people may be all for learning that he's going to vote Republican, and some people may be against that he will be. So
No problems.
we're
But the
exactly
concerns are very
political
important, how he's going to vote.
together, in fact. So
But
Also, oh, I'm sorry. I
I
didn't mean to
I was
cut.
just going to show this little thing. So, I mean, we could do little things like this and drop them on doors. Baltimore, your vote matters. Here's voter information for you. We welcome you to visit St. Vincent de Paul Church at the corner of Fayette and Street and I-83 as we celebrate the right to vote. We will help people register to vote and access websites to locate needed information after Sunday masses. I just said in October, Jack, we can decide what you want about 11:30, or join us for 10 a.m. mass and be first in line. I mean, so we could flyer some of these little things, put them indoors in the neighborhood if we want to try to get people there. So anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Ray, I think the committee did such an outstanding job that once you get a chance to look at those sheets and compare and contrast them, you'll see a trend, in terms of their thinking, their general perspective on this or that. Especially when you see on specific areas which way one was trending, which way the other was trending. So you won't have all the information because we had to kind of walk that tightrope, but you'll definitely see, I think,
Thank you.
trends that you would either be for or against as you read each one.
I just want to point out that Jody and Peggy and Skip were there almost the whole time. So when they say the committee, you need to know that your chairpersons and your leaders were, you know, unbelievable. I mean, Peggy was typing the whole time we were talking, and then we made her and go back and correct. And I don't think we could have done it without Skip and Peggy and Jody. So just kudos to them.
Pat?
Thank you, but you did all the hard part.
You sure did. You and Jack.
I just
ahead,
wanted to
Pat.
say that as far as I think the get out the vote is definitely important, primarily in the Senate race, because we know Maryland's going to vote for Harris. There's no question about that. But in the Senate race, you know, there's still work to be done, I would think. And it's certainly getting the women or the men and the women in the areas around us is important. And so I think those dropping those little notes in people's doors or whatever is a great idea. I've been writing postcards for the general election, or the presidential election. So I've been, and those are going to other states because obviously we don't need them here. But I've done them for, I'm doing them for Texas now. I already did the ones for Georgia. So
Pat, where are you getting the addresses?
Common Ground.
Okay.
And to do it with Common Ground, you need to take a training. And they give you, I mean, you have to buy everything. You have to buy the postcards and the stamps and all that. But they give you a script, and they require you to stick to the script. You don't make it up yourself. And they give you a sample, postcard to show you, what it should look like.
Pat, was it common cause or was it common ground?
Common Ground.
Oh,
And I'll send out NOPE, NOPE. I'll send that out because you can click on links, and if you want to do letter writing or calling, you can just click on the links too. I'll send that out when I send out the sheets if you're interested in doing that. Go ahead, Pat.
I don't know if you can see this, but they send you a list of, names and addresses, and then they send you labels that you put in the middle of the postcard that gives them information about when voting is happening, where to check if they're registered, how to verify that they're registered and eligible to vote. That kind of information is on that label. And then you write the script around that.
And that's similar to what the Green Team will have after church. And their focus will be candidates who are for improving our environment. And our focus is that, and also racial equity. So keeping that, we can ask people to keep those things in mind when they choose their candidates of choice.
Right.
Marian, I think you were next.
There is no site that we are aware of that would allow us to write postcards within Maryland to get out and vote, or, particularly for the Senate. We don't know of any that would target our own state. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know of any.
What I
Because
think,
whenever I've gotten them, it's been like Florida, Alabama, Texas,
Right.
it's like swing state or places where people might feel intimidated to vote. So I just wondered, okay.
yeah, I'm actually wondering, like related to that meet and greet, on Saturday, I wonder if they're gonna talk about that, if they're gonna find a way, like, I mean, obviously that would be partisan, but I imagine if that party would do it, then Hogan's party might be doing that too for the Senate, because I think what Mary Ann said is I mean, it's like it's a really important thing. I mean, they're getting a hold of us. I mean, the last election, I remember Tom canvassed in Pennsylvania, and some of you did too. And so NOPE has that too. And also the nonpartisan group, the nonpartisan project might be something to look up. The nonpartisan project is the one that did that latest survey on the young voters and found out that they prioritized climate change, which makes sense for young voters, doesn't it? And then health, especially abortion. So that might be a place we could all look to see if they have some. Most of these places do what Pat just said. They require you to do some training, which is a good thing. You just don't send a cold postcard somewhere, you know.
And remember, any candidate that you would like to help, you can just go to their website and volunteer, and they'll sign you up for door to door or whatever they need. That's an easy way to do it also.
One of the ideas that Peggy had on her list of things to comment on, we've been touching on, which is the importance of the young vote. And so we're looking for any ideas that you may have. For instance, is a young voter the first time around intimidated somehow or other, at the whole process? What could we do to sort of really facilitate that experience of registering and then going to a poll for the young voter? Those, any ideas on things like that would really help us to increase that category's positive turnout and positive experience.
Do schools have voter registration?
I was wondering about that.
You have to be 16, so you mean colleges, mostly colleges?
Yeah, they should.
No, I'm thinking of my old juniors and seniors.
Are they
Who were
that old?
17 and 18?
Oh, are they?
I do happen to know that there was a sort of huge clampdown in my former the School of Employment about what can and cannot be said for the election. So I hope they will at least encourage voting, but it seems like a school would be a great place for a social studies department to, educate and encourage them to register.
I was going to ask if anybody worked in any of the colleges.
Good idea.
If you think of anybody at
does 10 miles. 10 miles is the pastoral, the head of the pastoral department for the Notre Dame University on Charles Street. So so Ted would be somebody to touch base with. I just wanted to say Liz has had her hand up a long time. She's being really polite here.
Jerry had first.
I think Jerry's first.
Jerry's first.
You're muted, Jerry.
Oh, no. Okay, I
muted.
know. It takes about a half hour for this pointer to find the mute. So sorry. My question is for Pat. What train did you take, Pat? You said you had to take a train to go to Common Ground. And where is it? And
no, I said I had to take training. No, I didn't have to go anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was a train.
See, I mean, you shouldn't really be invited here. That's one question. I have another question, Jack. Can I email you and ask you a question that it's related to voting in the legislature, and I don't need to bore everybody here with it, but it has something to do with state retirees. Do you mind if I do that?
Sure, I'll try. Sure.
Okay.
Liz,
I'll send you my email when we're finished.
Thanks. I'm looking for names. Okay. Thank you.
Liz.
I had sent 80 letters 4 years ago through a group called Vote Forward. And these were actual letters, and there was actually no training, but an indication of what you should be saying in the letters. And they are at present targeting people in the swing states. So the people that I am writing to this year are in Michigan, because that's swing state. And Mary Lynn had signed up. She did this 4 years ago also, and her people are all in North Carolina. So that's what the focus on that is. So it's very easy. The only thing you have to do is supply the letter and print the paper and the stamp. Another thing I was going to mention, what about the residents of Baltimore and their church affiliation? Is that a source of support for voting? The pulpit, other than obviously St. V's?
It should,
And
I would
right?
Yeah,
say
St.
yes
Ignatius is
and
having
no,
a big
Elizabeth.
voting thing.
Yeah,
Are
there's
they?
an interdenominational ministerial alliance, because in many Black Protestant churches, I mean, of course, you know, since Dr. King and all, there had to be a direct involvement in urging people to vote. The interdenominational ministerial alliance doesn't seem to be as cohesive as it used to be. And so it doesn't have maybe the impact it did. But I would say, yes, you will find specific churches, you know, where the leadership still feels it incumbent to really work with their people about voting. I want to come back also briefly to this issue of youth. This is a more difficult question than you think. For instance, so many urban youth have dropped out of school, um, or you know, still have maybe literacy difficulty because of the lack of quality of schooling. And so I'm thinking, like, you know, we've got to think about not just youngsters or young adults who have completed and who are going into post-secondary stuff, but about this terrifically large number, like the squeegee kids, many of whom were adults,
Okay.
who don't have that opening. One idea, just listening to the group that I got, was maybe contacting the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, which has a lot of youth programs like the summer jobs and so forth, but also where my son now is working at a youth opportunity center. They call them YO centers, which focus on capturing dropouts and giving them every possible opportunity of earning that GED. The general age runs from 17 to 24. That's the kind of group I think we're also
Yes,
talking
yes.
about. And we need to maybe look at the organizations that focus on trying to capture and work with them, because that could be something extremely important that they're doing in the next couple of months. So, for instance, I mentally just already said I'm going to talk to my son about that
Yes.
because he works at the center on Lafayette Avenue in Gilmore. Okay, but I think we need to be thinking about that cohort of youth as well.
that's a good idea. And if you don't want to write letters, there's also phone banks. You can just call. That's pretty easy. You don't have to print anything or do any stamps or anything.
Oh my God. Peg, I also, after somebody asked that question about does Maryland have a vote thing, I went and researched online, and I just found, I don't know anything about it, but I found Vote Save America. I just put the link in the chat. But it looked like mine popped up for Massachusetts, but it looked like you could pick your state and then they could connect you with people that would help. But it sounded like fostering voting. It didn't sound like they were choosing. I just did it quickly. So, but
Okay.
you could maybe check that.
All right, thank you.
I was also thinking if people have grandchildren in colleges, all the colleges have some sort of format, you know, where kids get together and can do something like that. Even if they took some of the information that you had and you passed that word on.
Yeah.
About the two candidates, about the Senate, because they might be thinking presidential and they might not be thinking senatorial.
Important it is. And any high traffic areas, which schools definitely would be high traffic areas. I did check with E&E. Jack, help me out. John Moore.
Education. John Moore, yeah.
Him see the policy that they're building, the high rise downtown here. And he said they could put something on the table in the lobby, but they can't post anything on bulletin boards or anything. So if you are in a place, I was going to ask some of you Charlestown people, what if you can do anything? Put it
Nope.
on the table, nothing. Okay.
Absolutely forbidden.
So if
Oh.
anybody knows,
I've studied
anything-
that, and they are
Okay.
extremely strict about that.
All right.
You
So if
can wear a
anybody
Trump
knows any
T-shirt,
place-
but you can't canvas.
So if anybody knows any place where you can, feel free to print the material and share it. I know we're running close. I wanted to tell you a couple things about South Baltimore Community Land Trust.
1 second.
Anything else? Yeah.
I just wanted to say, so do you see what we're saying tonight? Not that we do know that the primary election is really important, but what we're also understanding tonight is we need to get people out to vote because of the down ballot candidates in all of these states. And so when we hustle and we look up these places like Liz told us about, and that others have told us about, we want to get young people to know that the down ballot voting is so important.
And also we received requests from Advance Maryland and Unite and Odette Ramos, who we support those groups, and her to vote against a couple of the city council measures. One, it sounds good, renew Baltimore, like reduce property taxes, but it also would mean budget cuts, and they're recommending voting against it if you live in the city, and also reducing the city council number from 14 to 8. They're recommending that we vote against that.
Yes.
And not reduce it. So there's a lot of things. So that's just for your information. Those groups and Odette are against it. You need to vote your conscience and study what you think. Did you have anything else, Jerry? I wanted to just tell you about South Baltimore Community
No, I
Land.
just wanted to just concisely say, so you understand that what we're really understanding is that it's really important that we be active in the down ballot election and that we get engaged in that, because pretty much, the presidential election, people are going to vote for that, but makes a big difference on who you vote for down ballot. In case.
Absolutely. And we want to thank you again and the committee for all the work that you did. And if you have some ideas, email me and I will send it out to the group with these documents also. And just to let you know, Friday I did go to Curtis Bay to support the South Baltimore Community Land Trust. They rallied against that pollution from the medical waste facility. And WBAL's Kate Amara interviewed Carlos. I don't know if you saw it there. And Melanie, you could see a lot of the group there. I was going to play that for you. Do we have enough time to do? I'll tell you
It's
what.
only 2 minutes long.
Yeah, do it.
Okay,
I'll do
all
it.
right.
Jody, do you have my script? Can you tell them about the rest? while
Whoops,
I'm
sorry.
pulling that up?
I don't have it open, but wait a minute.
Okay, never mind.
I'll look. I'll get it
pull that
open.
up in a second. So anyway, and in the e-newsletter, I hope you read the progress report that was in the e-newsletter this week about their 30 homes, 30 properties in development now. And there's a ribbon cutting on October 5th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I can send that address to you. And there's another ribbon cutting on November 9th on 11 to 1 at Hazel Street. So I think that would be very important. And they also invited us to their annual thankfulness event on November 8th.
Okay, I have it, Peg. I can
Okay.
finish. Okay, so yes, you can think about attending any of those things. And then finally, the wonderful trio of Father Brian Massengel, Robert P. Jones, and Sister Joan Neal from Network, probably seen some of those, are having a discussion on September 11th on white supremacy and American Christianity. We choose freedom. They're always really good. It's through Network. If you didn't receive it, we can send it. And the same night, Georgetown University has one on faith and the faithful and the 2024 presidential election. And
Okay.
that's it.
Looking for my link. I have so many things open. I can't find it. I'm so sorry, y'all. I will find it.
It's okay.
Or you know what? I'll send it out to you. I'll send the link. It's so exciting. I mean, they're doing such a great job. I'm so proud of them. And Sharon, you can report back to the group how happy
I
we
will
are.
report back to the group, but I'm on my way to look at the.
Yes.
Okay,
that.
y'all are
Do
so
that.
Love
Mary
you
Right.
all. See you soon.
Good
Mary
Bye-bye.
night,
Catherine,
Sharon.
lead us in our final prayer.
Oprah's on and Stevie Wonder. I gotta go.
Okay, hold on a second. Mary Catherine's gonna lead us in
Jack.
prayer.
Okay.
But, you know, are we gonna pray, Peg?
Mary Catherine's gonna lead us in prayer. You're muted, Mary Catherine.
Sorry. Yes,
Now
it's
you're
short,
good.
not too long. Okay. Oh, Lord God of life, you care about all of us. Give us your peace. May our light isn't good. May our security come not from weapons, but from respect.
Amen.
May our strength come not from violence, but from love. May our wealth come not from money, but from sharing.
Hmm.
I need more light. These old eyes here. This
Don't we
part,
all?
like, I got it. May our paths be not one of ambition, but of justice. And may our victory not be one of revenge, but of forgiveness. Unarmed and confident, help us to defend the dignity of all people, no matter what their race, color, or religion. Sharing today and always the bread of solidarity and peace. Amen.
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 Magnificent
Thank you
prayer.
very much,
Thank you.
and
Yes.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Have some ideas.
Peggy and Jody, I
Yeah.
think we need to discuss what Jack sent out at our next meeting and how we can use it. That is a magnificent homily. We need to discuss that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it was nonpartisan, so we couldn't do it tonight. I had talked to Peggy.
You mean it was partisan?
I mean,
Yes.
It
Yes.
was?
the next time we won't be partisan. Could use it.
I don't count the Christian nationalists as part.
Yeah, yeah.
When,
Now, I'm gonna stop the recording just in case anybody wants to say anything that they don't want.
Anything partisan?
Can
Yeah.
we get a copy of that